Hi, I'm Bryan Cook. This is my second year on the Craftsbury Green Racing Project team. The team moved to Bozeman on end of November. It's like 27th or something on Tuesday, before the races there Thursday, Saturday, Sunday. And so we were there for a little less than a week, or actually just about a week, Monday to Monday. We came from West Yellowstone from racing in West. We've been in West for like 10 days about, and then we just traveled down a couple days before the races to check out the scene. I have been to Bozeman Ranch a few times. Unfortunately, this was the lowest snow year of any time. I think I've been there like 3 or 4 times probably, and it's always a little bit tricky. I've never been there with the green team before, but I know that most of the skiers have skied their race there at least a few times, and so they're familiar with the conditions, the courses and everything, but unfortunately it was not what it was intended to be. Luckily, even though the snow was really thin, we did have 3 super tours. The first one was a skate sprint that was supposed to be held in West, and they had to move it to Bozeman because West didn't have enough snow to hold heats. And that was on Thursday, and then they also had scheduled a Saturday classic sprint and Sunday a classic mass start, and those went off as planned. The races actually went pretty well. I think everyone, it's safe to say everyone had a few good performances and a few maybe they weren't really satisfied with. The big, probably standout performances actually happened at every race, which was pretty cool. The skate sprint started off really well. Caitlin and Alex both were 4th, and just about everyone qualified for the sprints, which was really cool. So people were happy to see that. And then on Saturday, the classic sprint was really unusual. They moved it up higher, so it was pretty flat, so most people ended up double poling. But again, we had really good performances on both sides, probably a little bit better on the men because we had Nils in 2nd and Patrick in 4th, which was really cool. The women also all qualified but were knocked out in the quarterfinals. And then on Sunday, the mass starts were really crazy. It was one of the craziest starts and courses, I guess, that we've ever had, as far as not having a lot of snow and the conditions being really warm, so there's tracks just washed out and people crashing everywhere. But again, Caitlin, I think, led the team, which is 4th or 5th. Yeah, probably the highlight or the low light for a lot of people was Sunday's mass start classic race. I know in the men's race, immediately after the gunshot to start the race, Nils' pole simply exploded into many pieces, and he just stepped onto the side of the trail and waited for everyone to go. Meanwhile, at the very front of the pack, the #1 bib tried to make the first turn and crashed, causing a pile up. There was just broken poles, like the most broken poles I've ever seen. And it was basically because the start was really short into a hard left-hand corner, and then there was a bunch of turns left and right, and the tracks are washed out, and everybody's just going for it, and so there's a lot of carnage. It was fun. It was like a roller derby. But there was a lot of carnage involved. Basically, the bottom line was we didn't have a lot of snow, so the organizers didn't really have any choices with the courses they could make, so they provided pretty much the only options that they had. So it was fair in that sense that everyone had to do the same thing, and we all knew well in advance what the races were going to be, that we're going to have a classic sprint, we're going to have a mass start, and this was going to be the courses. I think a lot of people were disappointed in that the classic sprint was only double poling and the mass start wasn't on a little bit better courses. I mean, that one was fine, but it was just a bummer because especially for Bozeman, in particular, they made a new sprint course and homologated it and made a new 5K, and everyone was looking forward to skiing on those challenging courses, and it didn't happen. But in the end, I mean, everybody dealt with it, and it was just the way it was. The fact that the first few Super Tours were World Cup qualifying was like a really big deal, and I think that a lot of people probably adjusted their training But as far as like the race days and the feel, I think everyone's really excited to race early in the year anyway, and so the excitement's always there, whether or not they're World Cup qualifiers or not. I couldn't really tell if there was any differences or more nerves or anything, but everyone was real serious, and I actually think that it made the racing a lot more intense, because you really had to, really go for it. You couldn't relax as much as maybe you would. So we had some World Cup qualifiers, which is really exciting. Patrick qualified for the sprints in Quebec and Canmore, and he was really excited, and it was really cool to have at least one GRP man make it to the World Cups. We obviously already have Ida, who is racing the World Cup. She's going to be racing in Quebec and Canmore. And then Nils and Caitlin, as far as I know, for sure will be going to do the distance races in Canmore. And so that was really cool. It was always fun to cheer on your teammates and have some representation for Green Team. So it was a really long road trip. Started out in October in Canmore before we went to West and then Bozeman. And with any long road trip, like especially for a month-long road trip, things wear on you. I think that we did really well, and our housing situation was usually really nice. We got to stay at houses or condos, so we were able to cook meals together, and I think it went really smooth for the most part. But I mean, when it comes down to the last week and you're tired from all the racing, you are really looking forward to get away and come back to Craftsbury, which is always exciting. It's really nice to come back and be back at home in the house and back on the trails, which I mean, if we didn't have snowing, there would be no skiing, so that's always exciting to look forward to and to come back to. It's always fun to come back to skiing.